Hello everyone, Shadefire here, and back in Dauntless, despite my perhaps not the most positive sounding first look at the game. But I figure since I'm still playing it anyway, and still doing some of these later hunts now that I've kind of broken into Tier 3, I thought I'd show off some of the monsters, aside from the ones that were in the video. So this time I'm going after a Skraev, which is actually just a stronger version of the Shrike, one of the Tier 2 monsters. Which, a little disappointing to find that 2 out of like the 5 monsters in Tier 3 are both Shrike-based. There's the Skraev and the Moonreaver Shrike. However, unlike the Moonreaver Shrike, the Skraev seems to actually be beatable for me so far. Because I have gone up against the Moonreaver 3 out of the 5 Tier 3 hunts I've gone on, and we've wiped every single time. The Skraev I have killed once, and I've also killed an Ember main, which I'm wearing some of the armor from. But I want to do a Skraev hunt because I made a Skraev weapon, and I need the materials to upgrade it. Because right now, my Tier 3 weapon only does 5 more damage than the weapon I'm currently using, which is a maxed Tier 2 war pike. So we'll at least get to see a different weapon than I used in the first impressions video. If this person would bloody ready up, but he's probably AFK now. Alright, so here we are. Looks like we've got a forest island for this. A little odd that the Skraev doesn't seem to have an ice-specific island, since it is an ice elemental monster. And I believe I have a slight ice resistance with the 2 pieces of my armor that are not Tier 3. But I'm not actually using my... I forgot to mention, I'm not using my Tier 3 chain blades because they do ice damage, and the Skraev is an ice monster. But this war pike here should be alright enough for him. It's a good kind of weapon for support because it inflicts wounds on body parts, which will then make those parts take more damage from everybody. So, it's a pretty simple weapon in terms of what you can do with it, however, actually using it well is a little more difficult. The main thing you're doing is you're building up a charge, which at any point you can hit R to store, and you can store 3 charges at a time, and the higher the meter is when you store it, the more damage the shot does, and then you can fire it as basically a cannon shot. Okay. Skraev spotted. So yeah, this guy is different enough from the Shrike that he doesn't feel like just, hey, we made him slightly stronger. Unlike the Moonreaver, which basically is just, hey, we made the Shrike, but instead of, just the regular one, he's an asshole, too. You know, the Skraev is the Shrike, but ice. The Moonreaver Shrike is the Shrike, but an asshole. Alright. So let's get in here. So, your 2 main things with the pike are your light attacks, which are just a series of pokes, and those are good for putting wounds on. And if you do the full set, it actually is quite effective. And then your secondary attack, the one that uses stamina, which I incorrectly said that stamina isn't used for attacks in my other video. Stamina is used for heavy attacks, as well as certain special attacks. For example, the 7th attack in the regular combo on this will also use stamina. And you can hold this one down to do a bunch of pokes, but I mistimed it there. Also, the range on this thing is a little longer than it looks, but I kind of misjudge it sometimes still. So if I had a shot charged, I actually could have stunned him there when he's in midair. But I haven't really gotten any hits in yet. And if he hits you with certain, ice attacks, it'll freeze you. And your teammates can actually break the ice, which I guess they're not going to do. Thanks, guys. Great teammates. Kind of the thing you should expect when playing with puppies in a game like this. Alright, see if I can get actual meter charged here. So yeah, that's the attack that uses stamina. My stamina is not looking great. The problem with my new armor is it does not have a stamina regen buff like my old armor, so I'm not getting as much of a boost from that as I used to. Alright, one down. It's actually good to have multiple people revive, even if it's not faster, because something the game never explains to you is the danger system. Essentially, the longer you fight a monster, the more the danger level goes up. If it hits 100 at any point, you can no longer revive teammates, and your armor resistance becomes way lower, and the only way to get it to go back down is to get the monster to flee or kill it at that point. So if you can survive long enough to get it to run away, then you can still turn the fight around. But reviving teammates is also one of the things that will bring down the danger level, whereas having teammates go down will put it back up. So yeah, that's something, there's no tutorial in the game. There's nothing that ever mentions what that does. You just have to figure it out. Which you'll usually do the first time it happens, and it tells you, oh, by the way, you know what, you can revive now. That was a bad time to try to get that last hit in. Alright. One thing I don't like is that when you get hit, you put away your weapon and you automatically try to redraw it, which can often get you comboed like that. I would rather you have to actually manually pull out your weapon. Alright, so fire a shot, you charge it up. You don't have to charge it up there. All it does is make it more accurate. Okay, he's going to do his flying attack. I missed. So that red damage means I'm doing wound damage to a part, and once it stops showing up, it means you've already wounded that part, and you'll see like a little cut on him with Aether coming out of it. Alright, there's a break. Also, hitting a wounded part with a fully charged shot can be very good for breaks, and in some cases is considered almost essential. Okay, almost got a fully charged shot again. Ah, I should have just banked it there and fired. So those right there, if you touch those, it'll freeze you as well. They're like little ice mines. This guy's down again. I say again, I wasn't paying attention to who went down before. But yeah, like the Moon Reaver just seems really unnecessarily strong for this tier, especially considering you can't pick what monster you want to go for normally. So getting that as your first tier 3 monster is just like a big fuck you. It's like the game is trying to tell you go back to scrub tier. That wasn't a break, I was just stunned. Or it was a break and nothing came off. I don't think I even really need Skraev materials right now. I mean, I will later, but I still have a few left from the last fight. What I mostly need is just the Yonder Keys Arcanite. That little hop you can do is supposed to be like a dodge you can do while still attacking. However, I have never been able to get it to trigger intentionally. You're supposed to just hold an arrow key as you attack, and it'll... oh, there it goes. And it'll, like, you know, hop in the direction you want. However, that never seems to be the case. Wow, he didn't even go far, you can still see him. One thing I'm also not particularly enjoying right now is the material grind. So to make tier 3 potions, you require Sky Blossoms, which is that yellow flower I grabbed at the start. You can find like maybe 4 or 5 of those in a farming run if you look around and, you know, your team doesn't get annoyed at you for not helping them fight. and, you know, you use one of those per healing potion, so if you use a full 5 in a fight, that's basically a bunch of tedium to get more. And there's no, like, you can't use the currency to buy them yet. I hope you'll be able to do that eventually, because it really sucks otherwise. It's basically like, oh, go to a lower tier just so you can grind out the materials. And that explains to me why I saw players on lower tiers, you know, with tricked out armor. I'm like, what are they doing here? They don't get anything out of it, but what they get is farming. I should have shot him there. Compared to the other 2 tier 3 monsters I fought, the Skraev feels a lot easier. Like, for example, he doesn't take half of your health in one hit like the Moon Reaver did. Well, then again, I'm using better armor now, so that might be why. But it's not that much better. Like, the difference between a level 1 tier 3 armor piece and a maxed level 2 is very small. It's like 4. I guess these people don't know that you're supposed to break the ice on frozen players. Which is not that surprising. It's not like there's that many ice monsters. Okay, that's another shot banked. You can see I've got 3 of them up there at the top left. So I gotta actually pay attention when he's about to do the flying attack. I'm always behind him when he does that. Okay, here it comes. That's really hard to get off quickly, though. The problem is the bank key is the same as the shot key. So if you press a Q really quickly, you'll try to bank a shot. So, and if you press Q really quickly in succession, you'll actually just cancel your shot. You have to let it charge for at least a second. So when I try to snap off a shot like that, it usually just stands there and does nothing. There's one spot I haven't wounded yet. I think it's the left leg. Oh, shit. Well, that guy knows what he's doing. It might be the arm as well. And you can see the X where I wounded a part. I don't know if you can hit him when he's doing that flying attack there. I actually was just trying to hit him when he was on the ground. Alright, wasted 2 completely charged shots. You can tell I'm a great pike user. Okay, here it comes. Didn't knock him down for no reason, because half the time that doesn't actually seem to work. Welcome to Early Access. Alright, he's probably not doing so hot in terms of health. Though this is another one of those games where the developers don't give you any information on stuff like monster health, because they want to keep it, you know, hidden. I guess the idea is so you don't know when the monster's almost dead, because that keeps it suspenseful. I don't know, I've never really been a fan of developers trying to obfuscate information. You know, the Warframe devs are really bad for that, for trying to basically hide drop rates on stuff. and they actually threatened legal action on people who were looking into the files before. I mean, for them, it's basically they don't want people to know that certain things are... things that you would have to spend money on are, you know, how grindable they actually are. They'd rather you just have the idea that you can grind it out on your own instead of buying it without telling you how practical that is. But I guess it's important for, you know, free-to-play developers to withhold information from their player base that might affect their profits. Oh. Oh no. Wow. That was a triple down. Oh, you had a team revive. That's handy. Alright. So that actually worked that time. Did the exact same amount of damage, so it wasn't like I didn't do enough damage before. I think he's gonna do the backwards whirlwind. Come on, get up. Yep, there it is. Looks like I can still do a wound on his head, but oh, cool. I like how janky looking it is when he flies away. He just sort of vibrates, and that happens like every time with the Shrike-based monsters. All right, he's the long way around. Just gonna put my weapon away. So there's one of those sky blossoms I need to replace the 5 healing potions I've already used. And I've currently found 2 of these. So you're generally going to be at a potion deficit in this game. One thing interesting I read is apparently the developers have said that the islands as they are now are basically placeholder, which is why they're so empty and devoid of stuff to do. These are basically just there to give you an arena to fight the monsters in right now, apparently. So, it'd be interesting to see if they ever plan to actually fill these up with more than just, hey, there's the monster, go fight it. Oh. Alright, chill out. Chill out. Wasn't even intentional. Clipped his wing, but he actually landed too early that time. That time it was not the game being buggy. I don't know why more people don't try to lure them into the trees. I've seen before that it actually is a good strategy. And that seems like a classic sort of thing that, you know, primitive hunters would have done against large creatures like mammoths and whatnot, is, you know, get them to chase you into the trees where it's hard for a big creature to maneuver, and it works just as well in these behemoths. I mean, sure, they can still hit you through trees because video games. Now I don't have a thing to knock him down, so I'm just gonna roll away. What I do need is some health, but it doesn't seem... Oh, there it is. It's either... If I can get over to this Aether crack, I can actually get a bit of health off of it. Not a lot, but enough to stabilize me. And it does have limited uses, so you can't just keep healing there. D, because I took a bunch of damage. It looks like our team didn't do great, so... That wasn't such a bad hunt. I probably wouldn't have got downed if I was actually paying more attention. But, otherwise, that was a Alright. I'll give it a 4, because I never give anything a 5. And I got 4 feathers and frost feathers. It seems kind of pointless that the tier 3 monsters have multiple parts, because you get one of each per break, and you only need, you know, the same amount of each for crafting. So it seems like there's just 2 of them for the sake of being 2 of them, and it's not more grindy or anything like that. Alright, so that was the War Pike and the Skraev. Of the other tier 3 monsters, I think the one I want to show as well is the Embermane, which is a pretty neat monster. And then maybe if I can get up into tier 4, I'll show off some of those monsters as well. Currently the game goes up to tier 5, but there are only 2 tier 5 monsters.
If you don't wear your armor properly, it's not going to protect you.
Not you. I need to talk to this guy.
Slayer, good to see you.
Good to see you, Slayer. Skraev blades. So I've got 4 Yonder Keys Arcanite, and I only need the Skraev feather right now, so I guess it does matter that there's 2 types. Is there a piece missing on these, like between the blade and the handle? I guess that's where the chain goes, but there should be like a little connecty piece or something. And I can only upgrade once, because it looks like tier 3 is grindier there, since it requires all of the Arcanite you get for a single upgrade. Whereas in tier 2, you could at least usually get 2 upgrades off of a single Behemoth kill. Alright, so let's equip the chain blades. Which do 245, and the pike does, what, 220? Yeah, so now it's actually doing a bit more damage. And if I hunt the Embermane, I'm going to use these, so I'll actually show off the chain blades as well. I guess it would be nice at some point to maybe show all the weapons, but I haven't really used the axe or hammer that much. The hammer's kind of weird. It's got like a shotgun built into it that you can use for doing like jumps as well. Like you shoot the ground and jump up into the air to boop a monster on the head. But yeah, that's the Skraev, and that's another little bit of Dauntless. I'll probably continue playing this for now, because it's all I've got in terms of big monster killing, until Monster Hunter comes around. And you know what? When Monster Hunter comes around, I'll probably want to do a fair bit of, you know, individual hunt videos for that as well. But until then, I've been Shadefire, this is Dauntless, and I hope you'll join me in another Behemoth hunt in the future. Till then, take care, folks.